Hello there, this is Debbie Heiser, and I am so stinking excited to share this new season 4 with you. And I can't believe that this is already the 4th season of Lead Your Life with Debbie Heiser. And I just want to thank each of you who listen. And my hope is that the tools, the thoughts and experiences I share, as well as the work I've done to love myself, love others, and love the work I'm called to do, that also helps me lead a truly lit up life, will help you move into a more lit up life yourself. A few things to look for in this season. Super excited to share that we're going to be coming to you now every week with episodes jam-packed with information to serve you. Every other week, you'll hear from a guest who's leading a life that they love, and I'll be asking them to share their stories, how they got there, and any thoughts or advice that they can give you, our loyal listeners. We have new music too, and I'm so thrilled to introduce this song called Ride, sung and co-written by my friend, Miss Jackie Wilson. And she, along with her collaborators, Tyler Banks, David DJ Lee, and Chris Renee, are super talented and generous, as this song fits perfectly into the thought of stepping into your best life. To follow any or all of these talented folks, check out the show notes for their social handles. Thanks again for listening. Enjoy season 4 and do us a solid and leave us a rating and a comment to help us be able to share more with people across the globe. Now, let's get started with this episode.
You're the only one who really can transform your mind.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to another episode of Lead Your Lit Up Life with Debbie Heiser. I am so excited to talk to you. And can you believe it's March already? I love March because I love college basketball. And March Madness is just around the corner. For those of you that don't like basketball, I'm so sorry for you. But all of the championship games are getting ready to start. And then the whole March Madness brackets. And in my family, we used to have a thing where we'd fill out a bracket, and whoever won the bracket then ended up being the smartest person for the year and in our household. And so that was always a fun event. We haven't done it as much with COVID because in 2020 they didn't have one. In 2021 last year we just didn't do it. So this year I am going to challenge my family to do it again. But with that being said, I want to talk a little bit about March Madness. And when I started to think about March Madness, I also thought about this in two realms. One, the madness about March Madness in basketball is that you might have a top ranked school, and I don't mean just in education, but in basketball, playing a 28th seed person. And because of the way they perform that day, they can do an upset. And that 28th position can be the one that ends up going to the Final Four and maybe even wins the whole thing. And so it's about performance every day. And so to me, that's an important aspect of our business, showing up as our best self every day when we're there. And there are times we don't feel like showing up as our best self. And we need to step back sometimes and say to ourselves, isn't that interesting? Why am I not feeling the need to show up as my best self? And or what's the issue? Is it that I'm just tired and I need to spend some time with myself, or I need to go rest just a little bit? So many times we don't take the time to rest. And it is important. I look at it this way from a physical health perspective. If you're not physically healthy, or mentally healthy for that matter, or emotionally healthy for that matter, how can you be of service? How can you run your business and show up as your best self? And frankly, physically, if you're not well, you can't do what you're called to do. So there's that aspect of March Madness. And so how do we show up every day? How do we show up as our best selves? Each of you are going to know what that means to you. For me, I know that I need to regularly get 8 hours of sleep. So if I find myself waking up numerous times in the middle of the night, I do something about that. I have ashwagandha. That's a natural herb that helps me to relax. It does something, and some of you listening are going to know, but does something with the serotonin and all of those tonin things that create the relaxation in you to be able to sleep. I also know that there are times, particularly here in the summer, because the sun doesn't set until 11, that I'll go. And then I need to spend a weekend where I don't do much. I hang around the house. I don't go out and see a lot of people. Even though I'm an extrovert and I gain energy from being around people, sometimes I need just a day to do nothing, to have no commitments, to have nobody in my purview, to go take a long kayak if I want to, or a long hike by myself, which then also leads to another way that I take care of myself physically, not only from just an activity perspective, but also like in the winter, I am skiing. I skied all day Monday. I'm actually taping this in February. And so I skied. I plan on and ski typically at least 2 out of 3 days for part of the day in the morning, and typically on Sundays. I do things that have activity driven to them to keep my body active, but I also get out in nature. And whether that's a hike with my yak tracks on, for those of us that live in the North, we know what those are. We have to put them on our shoes so we don't slip and fall. And I just try to go out and listen and hear. I try to slow down so that I can see and hear what's there and really connect with myself so that I'm not in this, madness, right? This chaotic energy. And so it is important for us to take care of ourselves to be able to do that. The other part of it that I got to thinking about madness, and I thought about the fact that really madness, when I think about the definition of insanity, and I think about madness in that way, that definition of, am I doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results? I don't know. Maybe in some things I am. Maybe in some, maybe really subtle ways this shows up. Maybe it's that I know I need my 8 hours of sleep and I'm not going to bed until a little bit later. So maybe the expectation of getting up at 5 a.m. changes to 6 a.m. So being somewhat gentle and figuring out what is the slight difference that you can do, the slight thing, the action that you can take that's a little bit different that will get you to that end result that you want. Because the universal law of cause and effect says we are always at cause. It just depends on what effect we want. And I've talked about this before in this podcast, but desire is causative. So if I have a desire to get up and go skiing, and I joke because I used to laugh at my son, Zach, because he, like, it was always hard to get him up to go to school, but if he was going fishing, he'd be up and out of bed at 4:30 a.m. So that desire creates then this idea of action or cause that we then do to put into effect what we want. So when we think about doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, I have 3 questions to ask you. And as you think about these questions, it's really about identifying and looking at multiple different avenues. So like if you work with me as a private client, I don't work with you just on business or financial. I look at all aspects of life, and we take some time to really dig in and look at, what do you want in that area, whether it be relationship, whether it be contributions to society, whether it be spiritual life, whether it be, I think I said relationships, emotional or mental health, whether it be physical health. And then we leave business and financial last, because a lot of times we focus on that, but don't realize all of these other avenues are really important in the work that we do. So I would ask you to think about, what's one area of your life that you'd like to show up differently to, that you'd like for it to be different. And when you think about that, if you're driving, don't try to do this while you're driving, but answer this question. If it's about a particular relationship, what do you complain about in that relationship? Do you complain that that person doesn't show up for you? Do you complain that they only reach out to you when they want something? Do you complain that they don't spend enough time with you? Do you complain that you never get a phone call from them? List down all of these different things that you complain about that particular relationship. And then think about what frustrates you. Well, it frustrates me that I feel somewhat used because that person never reaches out to me unless they need something. Okay, then look at that through the lens of curiosity and not judgment, not anger. I mean, you can be angry, that's way okay. But what frustrates you about that? And then ask the question, what are you tolerating? Am I tolerating this in a relationship because I'm afraid I'm going to lose the relationship? Or am I tolerating it because I've never shared that I would like something different in the relationship? So hopefully you see a little bit, excuse me, of where I'm going with this, in the respect that if in fact, let's say from a complaint that you're complaining about, you don't get to spend enough time with this person. Well, then reverse that and say, how much time am I putting into that? Because the question really becomes then, am I giving what I'm expecting? And in some cases, I have some people in my life that it doesn't matter how many times I think that they're going to call. I don't hear from them unless I reach out to them. My father is a perfect example of that. Love him. He's a fabulous man. But honestly, it's February. I don't think I've talked to him since the first part of January. And I probably won't talk to him until the 17th on his birthday. And this is March when you're listening to this. So chances are I may have called him to talk a little bit about some KU basketball. But unless I do the outreach, I don't hear back from him. Now, I've made it very well known to him that I would appreciate a call once in a while. And maybe or maybe not that will happen, but that's his action. And so if I want to have a relationship, I know that I need to reach out. So then you ask yourself, what frustrates me about that is I internalize that and think he doesn't care because he doesn't reach out, which truly is a lie. When you think about brain science and your subconscious getting this message, it doesn't mean he doesn't care about me. He just simply doesn't even think about it. It's not in his purview. And so it's not personal. And then when I get to the point where I say, what am I tolerating? Well, I'm tolerating not hearing from him, but then I have to choose. If I want a relationship, I reach out to him. And frankly, in some cases, I like that because then I can call him when I feel like talking to him. And not that I don't feel like talking to him. I'd love to talk to him every day, but there are times it's just not conducive. And so then it allows me that ability to make that choice. So that's one example when it comes to a relationship. Now, let's walk through an example of doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results in a business perspective. So let's say I have an employee, and that employee, I'm complaining about it because they're not doing the job up to snuff. They're not doing what needs to be done in the position. And so I find myself complaining internally to myself, or maybe to a spouse, or to someone else, that I'm really frustrated and about this person's not living up to their potential. And then I have to think about, what am I tolerating? Well, I'm tolerating someone being in my business that's not doing what they need to do in order for my business to move forward. Now, I have to break that down though. I have to think about, is it because I wasn't clear in my expectations, or walking through what the role is, or giving them clear direction on the project or whatever it is that they're doing? Have I had that conversation with them? If I haven't, then I own that, right? That's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. I need to go have the conversation, but I have to get really clear about what I need from them and what's expected of them. If I'm not clear, how in the world can they be clear? Again, I can't ask for what I'm not willing to give out. So then as I'm looking at that, if I've had the conversation with them, I felt like I've been really clear, and I've asked them, what did you hear me say? So that I know that they interpreted what I said the way it was intended. Then it's about, do they know how to do the job? So Ken Blanchard has situational leadership, and it's a fabulous model, but it talks about, do they have the knowledge or skill to do the job? If they do, if they don't, that's trainable. Then we just need to show them how to do it, and then watch them do it and make sure that they have the skill to do it. If in fact they have the knowledge and skill, but they're just not doing it, then that either means they're not confident in their ability to do that task, or they don't have the motivation. Now, many of us look at motivation and say, oh, that's an attitude. Look at motivation a little differently. Motivation just simply means they don't understand the value of doing the task or the job. They don't understand what would happen if they don't do it. They don't understand the impact. So then it's our job as a leader to help them see what the value is. And then if they're not confident in it, doing role playing, help them, as a support mechanism. What can you do to help them build that confidence? Sometimes for me, I tell clients all the time, if you don't have faith in yourself, borrow some of that faith that I have in you. And it's amazing how that will create a switch in people. Now, it may not be that you lead or manage anyone. It may be that you're leading yourself. And so do you know what to do? Do you know how to do it? Great. If you do, then go on the opposite side of that. Am I confident that I know what to do? And if I'm not confident, what can I do to build confidence? Sometimes it's practicing. Sometimes it's just saying, I've got this, right? I know sometimes I'm skiing down the mountain and I'm on a black or something that I'm not used to. And I'll be like, please to God, please to God. And then I'm like, you are Wonder Woman, you've got this, right? And so I'm trying to mentally build confidence in myself as I do it. Same thing goes for you in business, whatever it is that you're doing. And then if it's motivation, then you have to really ask yourself, is this really a desire that I have? Or is there a fear? Is there a fear getting in the way of me doing this task? And if it's the fear, then it's about uncovering that fear. And frankly, folks, that's what I do, is I help people put together the plans to make a business happen, to make a career happen. And then I help you unwind and deal with the internal things that stop you, that are fears that we potentially have that then stop us and cause us not to move forward. So with that being said, I hope that if you are into March Madness, that your teams do well. And if you are, go KU. And if not, that's fine too. But if you'd like to know how to work with me, I would love to have a 30-minute conversation with you. Please go out to my website at www.leadyourlituplife.com and sign up for a free 30-minute consultation. What do you have to lose? With that, go KU. Everyone have a great week.